Psychology shows us something fascinating. Many people think that having a wide range of interests is a perfect gift. Learning quickly, being knowledgeable in multiple subjects, making connections between completely different fields. From the outside, all of this looks like an advantage, and most of the time it is. But there is another side that people almost never talk about. Because when your mind is constantly moving between new ideas, new knowledge, and new possibilities, it can sometimes become a burden instead of a gift. Some people choose a single path, a single profession, a single goal, a single area of expertise, and they spend years developing only that. But some people are different. Their minds never stop moving. They constantly want to explore. They constantly want to open new doors. And that is exactly where the struggle begins. The first struggle. You become interested in too many things at the same time. One week you're obsessed with psychology, then entrepreneurship, then history, then artificial intelligence, then economics, then human behavior, then something completely different. Every new field feels like a new world, and every world feels like it is waiting to be explored. Psychology often associates this with high curiosity, exploratory thinking, and novelty seeking. But there is a problem. Time is limited. Curiosity is not. So before you fully dive into one subject, another one captures your attention. A new door opens before the old one is completely closed. And eventually, you realize that while your mind is running in dozens of different directions, the day still contains only 24 hours. Your curiosity keeps growing, but your time stays the same. The second struggle. Walking a single path feels suffocating. People constantly give the same advice. Just pick one thing. Focus on one field. Make a decision. Become an expert in one subject. But those words often feel wrong to you, because the problem is not indecision. The problem is possibility. Psychology suggests that highly exploratory minds often feel restricted inside rigid structures. For many people, stability brings comfort. But for others, staying in the same place for too long feels like a mental cage. You don't just want to reach a destination. You want to see what's beyond the horizon. The third struggle. People misunderstand you. When others see your interests constantly changing, they often make assumptions. Unfocused, indecisive, inconsistent, undisciplined. But the reality is usually very different. Psychology shows that exploration and confusion are not the same thing. You are not necessarily losing interest. You are simply discovering new opportunities to learn. People think you're changing direction, but you're actually expanding your map of the world. They see disorder. You see connections. They see randomness. You see discovery. The fourth struggle. You know a lot, yet sometimes you feel like you know nothing. It sounds strange, but it is one of the most common experiences among people who explore many different fields. Because the more books you read, the more subjects you study, and the more knowledge you gain, the more aware you become of everything you still don't know. Psychology often explains this as increasing awareness of complexity. As knowledge grows, certainty sometimes shrinks, because you begin to see how vast the world really is. Things that once seemed obvious become gray areas. Simple questions become complex, and you realize that true intelligence is not believing you know everything. It is understanding how much remains unknown. Your knowledge expands, but your certainty decreases. The fifth struggle. You struggle to define yourself. People ask a simple question. What exactly do you do? And suddenly the answer becomes difficult. Because you don't do just one thing. You don't have just one interest. You don't fit inside a single box. Your identity is made up of many different pieces. Psychology often refers to this as identity complexity. Some people can describe themselves with a single label. But for others, that is impossible, because they are not one thing. They are the intersection of many worlds. They love science, but they also love art. They follow business, but they are fascinated by psychology. They cannot be reduced to a single category. And often, that becomes one of their greatest challenges. Psychology makes one thing clear. Having a broad and curious mind is not made entirely of advantages. There is also a hidden cost. Too many interests, endless curiosity, the inability to stay on one path, being misunderstood, feeling the weight of knowledge, and struggling to explain who you are. Because sometimes, the mind doesn't become exhausted from thinking too little. It becomes exhausted because it never stops exploring. Sometimes the greatest struggle is not being unable to learn. The greatest struggle is deciding what to stop learning when there is so much left to discover. And maybe That's why some people don't simply look at the world. They explore it. Because for them, life is not about finding a single answer. It is about chasing endless questions.